light, fresh, crispy, full of flavour. It could be the best one we've had. A free walking tour, amazing Asado, another little vineyard in the bones. Welcome to another Gaz Right video, and we're still in the heart of Mendoza, and we've got another banger day lined up for you. We've had a little walking tour this morning. I was going to drop you a few facts, not going to overindulge like we did in Paraguay. It is a free walking tour, however, it goes without saying, make sure you give them a little tip. It's suggested $5 to $10, so we obviously gave him $20, and some bloke comes over like, oh, I don't have any cash, but yeah, I can take you for a coffee. And the bloke was a bit like, no, I'm just taking you on a 2-hour tour, which was incredibly insightful. Again, cannot speak highly enough of the old walking tours. Let me just drop a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of wisdom, because Mendoza is absolutely bursting with it. They have 300 pure sunshine days per year. However, we have picked the time when it's overcast. The things you hate to see. However, when life gives you lemons, just get yourself stuck in a vineyard and get yourself in the mixer with a little bit of the old wine. So the earliest sightings they had of life in Mendoza was back in 8000 BC. 3000 BC was back when they had first signs of like agricultural practices, and then 1000 after Christ's death is when they had the first like indigenous people. The Herpes people, pretty interesting stuff from these little fellas. So the way he was describing them, they were like a little bit interesting, a little bit special, kind of like extremely small. He said they had lots of problems with iron deficiency, and they had lots of problems with swelling, maybe due to the altitude. So he was saying they were like persecuted by the Incas initially, and then obviously by the Spanish. The Inca one was really interesting. I didn't know this. So what the Incas used to do, they would go to a civilization. So every 25 kilometers on the Inca Trail, this is obviously spanning all across like Latin America, they would go and they'd say, here are tools, here's different products that you can trade, and obviously here's agricultural knowledge, how to get the best out of your land. They give them all the stuff for free for a year, let them test it, let them trial it, and then they'd come back and say, oh, do you want to keep going? Do you want this knowledge? And of course that came at a cost, and then they take the money from that initial agreement with those people, and then they'd use it to buy all the stuff and get the next people along the road, and that's how they kind of grew extremely quickly. So I thought that was really interesting. He was talking about like Mendoza as a city has got like lots of major parks now, like Independence Square, Spanish Square, and the Italian one. They used to have different names in terms of like Montevideo, Lima, and Santiago, but they changed them a couple of hundred years ago now. But the main reason they built them was due to the earthquakes. So it's obviously in a huge earthquake-prone area. The worst one they had was about 200 years ago, 7.2, completely destroyed the entire town. So when they rebuilt it, obviously they had all the parks in the middle to obviously a place where you can meet, you can be safe, but it's also, sorry, in terms of like the building around earthquakes, they also built trees. It's absolutely gorgeous in the center of Mendoza. All the trees kind of overshadow in the middle of the road. And basically they built them, one, to increase like the amount of oxygen, because obviously you're in a high altitude area. Two, to protect from the earthquakes. So when buildings fell down, the idea was they didn't block every single road. There'd be some, ability to block that with the trees. And the old trees shading people from the sun, like I say, over 300 days of sunshine per year. So obviously it does get a little bit toasty. The squares are absolutely beautiful. Spanish Square, there's a lot of information there, and a lot of contrast information. It's good to go with somebody who gives you both sides of the argument. One side said this, one side said that. This is kind of what's true. The guy that took us on the tour today, he should be a history teacher, a historian. The knowledge he was dropping around like Columbus and like early settlements, and just like the history, the persecution, the Incas, the Italians, the Spanish, it was absolutely brilliant. One of the cool things I think he was telling us mainly about as well is obviously Jose de San Martin, the liberator of Chile, Peru, and of course Argentina. Again, lots of contrasted information on this, but obviously he was saying he was noble. Everyone said, oh, he's a noble-born Spanish person, but like and he was like, right, well, let's break it down. Why would a noble-born Spanish person trying to be liberating like Argentina from, do you know what I mean, the Spanish, like the noble Spanish, which just kind of makes sense. Like, well, it makes sense that it doesn't make sense. And he was saying like one of the Spanish generals had a kid with an indigenous woman, and he grew up, one, to obviously go to Spain, go to like a more noble upbringing, but then became the liberator of obviously those countries. So yeah, pretty insane stuff. he created an army of 5,000 Argentinian people from like the Mendoza area, and Mendoza only had a population at the time of 4,000 people. So pretty influential fella, liberated them from the Spanish, and obviously he was saying that he was so smart, this guy, that he gave contrasting information. So he said to one, like he was giving information to fool the Spanish. So the Spanish were in Santiago, they got told he's coming from the north and the south to divide their forces. Some went north, some went south. He just went straight through the Andes Mountains, lost 10% of the old people, his old army en route. However, got there and liberated the city. I think it was in about 10 days. So yeah, pretty flair stuff. After the liberation, obviously the government got the land back and they started selling it to the rich, the wealthy of Buenos Aires, so different areas like Mendoza, the Andes Mountains, and ultimately they're outlawed, like the gauchos, the indigenous people of the area. So if you were caught going across land and stuff, because obviously they're all fences up then, you could get arrested, and then you got sent to like fight in wars, basically until you died. It wasn't like you're in for 2 years, in for 3 years. It was you're in, you're locked in, and then it's game over. So now the gauchos are seen as, do you know what I mean, flair indigenous people. They've kind of changed their look a little bit, he was telling us. But yeah, I thought it was super interesting on that front. And then the final little bit, like I say, this is only 2 hours condensed it down to like 6 minutes. I would heavily advise going on it, is that when they rebuilt the city, because of a lot of the flooding, they rebuilt it like 15 meters higher than it was before. But because of where it is in like the mountains, you're in a desert, that they got an incredibly high amount of lung and respiratory issues. So that's why now there's loads of parks built around Mendoza, which obviously for the air quality. So they say like the wealthier people, the wealthier areas are at the top of town, least likely to flood, and they've got the parks around, so better air quality. So again, things you love to see. If you do want to go on the tour, let me know, bang a message in the comments. I'll give you the guy's number and you can just book it in with him direct. Lovely gentleman, would highly recommend that. And then we've just gone to El Asadito, which is exactly what it says on the tin. It is an asado joint. This is what the guy who ran the tour, he recommended us to go here. There are 2 options. You want to go to the one on San Juan Street. This is like the local one. If you go to the other one, basically that's like the tourist one, it's a lot more expensive, it's a lot busier. Would highly recommend. Me and Em went for the 3-person platter, a few fries on the side, chimichurri, a little bit of the old mayo, and it was banging. It came with 5 different meats. The only one I didn't really like was the one, it was like a super fatty one. The beef was banging. What else did we have in there? The actual creme de la creme. It does help if you like black pudding, but the blood sausage, the black pudding, chef's kiss, absolutely delightful. The best black pudding I've ever bloody had, and that came out as like £20 per person. Em had a little glass of vino blanco, so yeah, insane value. We've now just touched down in, let me get my phone so I can drop the old place. We're in Clos de Chacaras Winery. Again, comes highly recommended. It was about a 24-minute taxi. A lot of people cycle to wineries, and even our tour guide today was like, I don't know why foreigners do that. You're gonna like trip, you're gonna fall, you're gonna be too drunk and stuff. So yeah, and also it'd be a pretty long cycle, 40 minutes. So get yourself in a taxi, get yourself in the thick of it. As you can see behind me, we've got the vineyard. It's a gorgeous little setting. Obviously, we went to 4 yesterday. I've not tasted the wines yet, but it already looks that level above, that step above, that premium experience. We're gonna go get in the mixer. We've got a little white, we've got a rosé and a little red en route, and we're tuning back in for that, baby. Peace.
The maceration also is going to give to the wines a fruity aroma. These Malbec rosé have aromas like cherries, strawberries, grenades, and red apple. Cavas de Grants Chardonnay from the 2024 harvest. No, sorry, 2023.
Culture, history, knowledge digested into the old bones, and now it's time for a little bit of the old vino. Lovely little setting here. There's 2 kind of sections to it, well, 3 sections. You can either do an actual tour. We've got a really flair one booked tomorrow, so if you do want to see that, come back for that. So today we're just taking it easy. You just buy wine, buy the glass. You can sit in the restaurant, which is super vibey. Lovely setting on a little like mini lake pond area. Loads of fish in there, and then myself and Emma perched next to 2 people on these little like barrels. Obviously I cannot be doing a little review and dropping knowledge and wisdom whilst next to someone. It's a little bit cheesy, so we've just come back to the old vineyards themselves just to taste the old rosé. We did learn a few things, that there are 1,500 wineries in Mendoza, and they're currently 8th in the world in terms of the global rankings. I'd love to know where first is. Should have got that. Maybe I'll get that for the next time, or tomorrow I'll go away and do that research. Other cool little facts, the irrigation system they've got here dates back to the 1400 and will put in by the indigenous people. It's all ran through gravity, so the top of time obviously allows it to come down through time, and it's every person's responsibility who basically in front of your home, in front of your shop, you have to look after it, make sure there's no rubbish in there, because the quality of the water relates to the quality of the old grape. But less of me talking, more tasting. We're on the rosé. Look at the colour of the fella. I'll overlay right about now all 3 of the wines that we're tasting. So like I say, we've gone for a rosé, we've gone for a white, and we've gone for a red, usually on the pales, but you know, pale dry is the way of the king. Sip the schooner. Ooh, you know what? It's not as powerful as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to absolutely blow me away. It is light, it is refreshing, it is crisp. The good glasses, as the king has obviously educated myself and you guys on, if you were here yesterday. Strong start, 7 out of 10. Vino Blanco up next, baby. And we're back. Our friends have vacated the premises, so now we have the whole barrel area to ourselves. Beautiful little backdrop, as I said, a few fish, a few carp knocking about. You've got the trees. If only we had some gorgeous sunshine. However, we're not going to let it detract from the gorgeous situation. A few more little bits of intel for you. So we learned that the table wine has 1 fermentation process, and then if you want cellar wine, that's 2 fermentation processes, which gives you the gorgeous tasting one. So it's like 85% of the wines in the Mendoza area are the old cellar ones. You know what I mean? They know what they're doing. And back in the day, this I thought probably the best stat I heard out of everything today. So back in the day, there were so many diseases through water that the people of Mendoza and like Spanish people, like he was kind of saying it comes across from Mendoza and like the Spanish people, that they were like, so many people get ill from water, so we're just going to drink just wine. So they'd have wine with breakfast, lunch, dinner. And what did that start? It started the siestas. Anyway, we digress. We are about to fly in to this little fellow, the Vino Blanco. Ooh, smelling good. You know what? I'm a convert over the last couple of years on the old white wines. Again, I'm not going to have a full session, a full day out. Well, that is light, fresh, crispy, full of flavour. It could be the best one we've had. I think that was a very, very delicious. And then we're going to go for the Malbec. Is that what we're on in? I'll have overlaid at the start, so you'll know what we're drinking at this point. We've absolutely no idea. I was complaining about people doing that in Uruguay. Look at me now. Look at me now. And you know what? That's really bloody nice. Again, I'm not going to sit here and have 5, 6, 7, 8 glasses, but full of flavour, full of the old body and undertones, as the lady did say, of blueberries, cherries, and a little bit of the old plum action. So for me, I'm obviously going to be on the Vino Blanco. If we compare it to yesterday, and if you've not watched yesterday, go back and have a look at that, because we went to 4 different vineyards. Yesterday, the 4th one we went to was the best one. I think this rivals it. Beautiful setting, bit more vibey, a little bit more going on. You're sat in the vineyards, you've got a great backdrop, gorgeous wines throughout. Lock and load, top drawer day. We will be back tomorrow. We've got, guess what's on the menu tomorrow? It's another vineyard tour. We've actually signed up for what is rumour on the circuit, the best vineyard in the entire world. If it's not the world, it's definitely in Mendoza. We've already signed up for like a full pairing and tasting, so hopefully I have some really in-depth knowledge to share with you. Questions on Mendoza, vineyards, wineries, Asado, free walking tour. If you want me to put you in touch with our good friend, let me know in the old comments, or whilst you're down there, hit that subscribe button. Still en route to 3K subs. Cheers now.